friends, welcome back to the channel, or if you are new here, welcome. I think just about everyone is on a budget these days with groceries. The prices of everything is just insane right now, and so this week I am sharing with you some budget-friendly family meals that I have made for my family of 6 recently. The meals that I am sharing with you today come in at about $10 each, and they are very versatile. You could definitely switch up things, make them however you want with whatever ingredients you have on hand. I'm starting off with making a simple spaghetti that we're going to have for dinner tonight. I am going to be adding things to make it stretch, and I'll share a little bit more about that in just a minute. But I'm starting off by making a French bread, and I'm going to be making it an herb and cheese French bread. I will have the recipe listed for this down below in the description box if you're wanting to try it out yourself. I am fairly new to this recipe. I've only made it a couple of times. However, it was incredibly easy, and I was pretty surprised by that, honestly. I feel like a lot of times I'm pretty intimidated by bread, and I think a lot of people are. And so whenever I actually start a recipe and it just comes out incredibly easy, it's always a surprise to me. But this was actually a request from my daughter. So usually each weekend when we go grocery shopping at Walmart or various stores, I will usually buy her one of those French bread loaves, and I recently have been buying her one with like herbs and cheese on it, and she's really liked that. She eats that throughout the week for like lunches and stuff. But the last 2 weeks that I've went grocery shopping, I've actually forgot to buy it. So, and our Walmart does not have a bakery, so we actually don't have it anywhere near us. I would have to travel an hour to get one of these loaves from a Walmart bakery. And I am just not going to do that. I don't usually make grocery trips in the middle of the week unless we need something like milk. I usually don't make the trip. We just kind of wait it out until the weekend. So I did some research and figured out a couple of different easy French bread recipes. I was lucky enough that the first one I tried out was a huge hit. Now, there are a couple different rises that you'll do with this bread. However, I didn't really share all of them with you. So I went ahead, I mixed all the ingredients together, I put it in a greased bowl, I covered it, and my kitchen is pretty warm, so it actually rose in less than an hour. After it was doubled in size, I punched it down and I divided it into 2 loaves. So you're supposed to be putting it on a parchment-lined baking sheet. However, I ran out of parchment paper, so I just made sure that I greased both of these baking sheets really well. You're also going to want to make sure that you use 2 different baking sheets because they do grow pretty large. I was kind of surprised at how big they rose. So you will want 2 different baking sheets. If you have parchment paper, go ahead and use that. I greased these really well and I had no issues with it sticking. And then you'll score the bread. Now I'm going to be adding the cheese and the herbs before I let it rise. I figured that was probably a better idea. I thought it would stick to the bread a little better. The only difference I would make with this is instead of adding like the herbs and cheese dry, I would actually mix it with melted butter and brush it on. I feel like although it tasted amazing after, I was shocked at how well this turned out. My kids loved it. The only thing that I would do that for is because I feel like it kind of flaked off after it was baked. It made it a little bit messier, and I think it would stick on a little better if I brushed them on with melted butter. So that is the only difference I make. I feel like, so I had a lot of this actually left over, and my daughter, she was like, no, I really want it flavorful. So she ended up adding the rest of it on just outside of the camera. And then I just covered this with plastic wrap and I let it rise again in a warm spot, which is usually on my stove. So that is where I let it rise. And while it was doing that, I went ahead and I started on dinner. You also do not have to do the herbs and cheese if you're not wanting. The original recipe did not have that. That was just something that we added because my daughter specifically asked for it. And my house smelled absolutely incredible while this was baking. While the bread is rising for its last time and finishing baking, I am starting on the spaghetti. So I have ground chicken going in this pan, and I just added lentils to it. I'm making sure that I'm putting them at the very beginning of me cooking the ground chicken. That way they have plenty of time to soften. So I have made a couple of little tips here. So I made the switch a little bit ago. We still use ground beef. However, it's gotten pretty expensive in my area. So I have switched to ground chicken and ground turkey. Also, it's just a little better on our stomachs, I feel like. So we have a lot easier time eating the ground chicken and ground turkey, and meals like this where they're covered in sauce or taco seasoning, something like that, you can't really tell, and I usually can get away with it. So I have made that switch for a lot of different recipes to either ground chicken or ground turkey. Another thing that I have been adding in, so for the longest time to make a meal stretch, I would add in oatmeal. And that was something that really works. You can add it into like ground beef, ground turkey, ground chicken, whatever you're doing. And it really makes the meal stretch without you really being able to notice it, especially if it's in a sauce. So I started doing that a couple years ago, and then my aunt recently talked to me about adding lentils into spaghetti sauce, and that also helping the meal stretch a little bit further. So that is something that I have been doing. I added into so many different recipes, but that is why you saw me adding it in there. And then I just finished off the spaghetti recipe with however I usually make it. Of course, that can look different for everybody. So that was just a couple little tips I wanted to throw in there. And here is how dinner turned out. This was such a perfect meal. You could serve it with a side salad or some green beans or broccoli, but this is always such an easy thing to do. I shared recently in another video smash tacos or smash burgers. I don't even know what they're called, but they are everywhere on the internet. At least they used to be for like a year now. I feel like just they're constantly popping up on my different social media accounts. But anyway, I recently tried them and I did a different recipe. I did like a chicken Caesar smash taco type of thing, and that was such a hit. I think I told you probably 85 times in that video how just my family was blown away by it. It is so easy. I love throwing these together, and so these have basically been a new staple for me. And if you've been here a while, you know that I used to make I still do often, but just not as much. I'm trying different recipes and stuff, but I always make like burger bowls or bowls of some sort, like barbecue bowls, stuff like that. I like being able to use ingredients that I have on hand and kind of throw them together in different kind of bowls. So like I said, a burger bowl, a taco bowl, Mediterranean bowl, barbecue bowl. This is something that I make pretty regularly, especially if we already have like ingredients. So I will often, like, if let's say we have barbecue one night, and so we would have it just like that the first night, but then the second night I'll take all the leftovers of it and make it into a bowl and kind of just use a lot of the same ingredients, but I swear it changes the flavor of it and everybody seems to like it. You can add like a fun little sauce on it or whatever it may be. So anyway, short story long, I usually do that a lot. And so I found with these smash tacos that they are very versatile just like that. And so I've been having quite a bit of fun with them. So like I said, last time I made these, I made them more of like a chicken Caesar salad type of thing. This time it is Tuesday and I'm making Taco Tuesday type of vibes. So I'm starting off with making guacamole. I have made this a bunch of times on my channel. I swear this is the best one. It is better than most I've had in restaurants, and even people that are like, I don't like guacamole, I swear, just try this recipe. This is one that usually people like. So I'm starting off with that. I mashed up a bunch of avocados in this bowl. I'm dicing up some onions. Now my kids don't love a ton of onions in them, and if I do that, they only want like smaller chunks. So I have 2 onions here because I'm also going to be making some pico de gallo, and I'm chopping small ones up for the guacamole, and then the larger ones I'll put in the pico de gallo. Now, obviously, these toppings are not absolutely necessary if you're wanting to use salsa or taco sauce or just throw a salad on top of these instead of making pico de gallo and guacamole. You absolutely could do that. Last time I made these, I made them more of a Mediterranean style, and we just topped them with a salad that I had put together, like a Caesar salad that I put together ahead of time. However, I'm going to be adding some taco seasoning and stuff like that to the meat. So because of that, that's what I'm wanting to top these also with. The only suggestion I have for this, though, is whatever you plan on topping your smash tacos with, just make sure that you have it done ahead of time, because once you start the cooking process, it goes by so quickly, and I feel like you're constantly flipping these and you really don't have time to do the sides or the toppings at that time. So I try to have all of it done ahead of time before I start the cooking process. Now that I'm thinking about these, they might actually be called smash burgers. I don't know. I think I'm calling them smash tacos because I'm adding like taco seasoning and they're basically like tacos, but they might have been called smash burgers. I don't know. If you've seen them on the internet and that's what they're called, or if you've seen a different name, let me know below. But I'm sure it doesn't really matter. I think a lot of people will do them like as smash burgers and do like pickles and onions and tomatoes and probably ketchup or, whatever toppings you usually want on a burger. But these are so versatile. I tell you that you can really do them however you want. Like I said last time, we did Mediterranean style. I think I did ground chicken. I seasoned it with garlic and onion powder, and we topped it with a Caesar salad. You could, do Parmesan on that, olives, however you like it. We probably did some cucumber, stuff like that, and it was great. I think these would be great as burgers too, and it kind of just makes a fun little twist on things. I think my kids, they like making their own of these and they have a lot of fun. So even though they're just tacos or they're just burgers or they're just Mediterranean wraps, it makes it a little bit more fun because it's not something that we usually have. I am cutting up a bunch of orange and yellow grape tomatoes because that's actually what we have growing in the garden and I wanted to be able to use them. I'll also use the jalapenos that we have from the garden. Now it's funny because I did not know that I was buying yellow and orange grape tomatoes, and I love tomatoes. They're one of probably my favorite vegetables or foods in general. And so I was a little kind of like wah, wah, when I started growing these and they were coming out and just turning like orange and yellow, because I feel like they don't have as much of a flavor as the red ones. Those are like flavor bombs and I love them. But these ones, I've noticed if I let them sit for like a day after I pick them, they become so much more flavorful. So anyway, those have sat a day. I harvested them the day before and let them sit. Now I chop them up and I'm going to be putting them in my pico de gallo. I did use the seeds and stuff from the jalapenos and I almost instantly regretted it, because they were really spicy, and I feel like the ones from the garden, like the jalapenos from the garden that you grow, I feel like are always so much spicier than the ones that you get at the store. So I ended up leaving that in, which it was okay. My kids don't often grab for pico de gallo. I think only like my oldest does. So I put in most of it into the pico de gallo. I only put just a little bit into the guacamole, and whatever we had left of the pico de gallo, we actually gifted to a friend. So, and they love it really, really spicy. Another thing, I don't usually use lemon in my pico de gallo. I will put like a squirt of it into my guacamole, but I usually will use lime juice in the pico de gallo. I didn't think I had any until like the next day when I found an entire bag of limes in my fridge. So I went ahead and I just used whatever I had left of this lemon, and then I had like some lime juice in a little bottle that I used as well. Because my kids don't really eat the pico de gallo, I can get away with adding cilantro in it. So if you're new here, I have 2 kids that have the soap gene and they cannot eat cilantro at all, so I usually will not add it to any of the food that they're going to be eating. If anything, we'll put it off to the side. But this is how the pico de gallo looks before I went ahead and mixed it up. So I usually do equal parts onions, tomatoes, and jalapenos. I'll add in a big bunch of cilantro that I chop up and some lemons or limes, and then I'll give it a good mix. You can add in a little bit of salt if you want. For the guacamole, again, I smashed up some avocados. I put in some chopped up onions, tomatoes, jalapenos. I usually will seed them for this though, because my kids love this guacamole. So usually I won't add as many seeds, so it's not as spicy. I'll add in just a dollop of mayo, some some chili powder, and I don't measure that. I just measure with your heart. I'll do chili powder, garlic powder, and onion powder. Give it a good mix, and it is perfect every time. So now I have the toppings done that I'm wanting to add. So I covered them, put them aside, and I'm going to start on the meat mixture that I'm going to be putting onto the tortillas. So I have in here ground chicken. You can use ground beef, you can use ground turkey, you can use whatever you want, whatever you have on hand. This is, like I said, kind of what we've been reaching for lately, so that is what I'm using here. I added in some panko breadcrumbs, and then I'm just adding in taco seasoning ingredients. If you have a taco seasoning packet you like to use, you could use that too, but mine usually is just onion powder, garlic powder, cumin, chili powder, and some salt. So I'm adding in all of that, and then 1 egg. I'm going to give that a good mix, and then I will put that onto the tortillas nice and thin. If you're wanting to take these a different direction and not do tacos, this would be the point where you could season them differently than what I did. So like I said, I just did like a taco seasoning. You can do burger seasoning or whatever you're wanting for whatever you're wanting to achieve here. So if you're wanting to mix them up and not just do tacos, just add different seasonings, and you could do different toppings to kind of make it your own. I am using small flour tortillas. I'm sure you could do corn tortillas. I just have not done that. I'm sure it's actually pretty good, but we usually have flour tortillas because we use them for a variety of things, and that is what I had on hand, so that's just what I'm using. And I'm taking the meat mixture with a spoon. I just put a little dollop onto it. And you want to make sure that you spread it out nice and evenly, but also pretty thin, because it will just take too long to cook, and I don't know if it would really be done all the way on the inside. So I make sure that I get them nice and even and very thin across the entire tortilla, and then I plop it down onto my griddle here, and I cook 3 at a time, however many fit. And then this side you cook it on the longest, so I just will come back and check to make sure that it's cooking. Once I determine that it is cooked on that side, I'll flip it over, and it really only cooks for a couple of seconds on the tortilla side. While those tortillas are finishing up, I am getting some more ready to go. So as soon as I pull these off, I'll have some new ones to put on. Like I said, this process goes pretty quickly, so I like to be as prepared as I can be. And you'll see I'm kind of looking through different drawers and stuff, trying to find my spatula. I have my 2 teens, they are responsible for doing dishes most days. And I tell you, that is like so difficult sometimes because I can never find things after they're done. And to make matters worse, I recently just went around the kitchen and like reorganized and decluttered stuff and moved things around, because I feel like that's like my constant battle in this kitchen, where we have so many drawers and I just feel like they're not properly used, or they're not in the proper space. So I'm constantly trying to refigure or reconfigure things. And that is a struggle when other people are trying to do dishes and they have no idea where anything goes. And so then I'm going to cook and the stuff then is not put in the new spots and it's just a whole ordeal. So anyway, that was my whole spiel recently, my struggle. Anytime I move the kitchen around, it takes quite a bit of time to figure things out. I think both them and me. Also, if you have been here a while, you know that I have been on a health journey for like 2 months now. It has been going very well. However, I do not eat most of the meals that I make for my family. This, I'm just sharing with you all the toppings. I put out Greek yogurt in case they want to do that instead of sour cream and lettuce and all that kind of stuff for them to be able to come in here and make their own. And then I will share with you what I had for my dinner. A lot of times, though, I stick with what I know is working and I just keep it very simple that way. And I really like it like that. I've never done that before. I always kind of do my own thing. And I'm really glad I decided to just kind of keep things simple this time. It's been good to keep me on track. That way I don't really have to think about it. I just have whatever I'm able to eat already ready, like prepared and stuff for the week, and I can just go in and grab it without any thought at all. So this is what I'm having. I wanted to do there's a Colton's restaurant near us and I often will get their, I think it's called Hawaiian chicken meal. It's under 500 calories. And so I was trying to recreate that and that is what I did. And it's like my new obsession. It's so good. So anyway, that is what I had for dinner and they had the smashed tacos. It's always such a huge hit. So if you have not tried those, definitely give those a try. But we are moving on to our next meal that I made this week. And this is something that I just threw together really simple. I was working outside and it was so hot. It was so muggy. And so I wanted to just be able to throw something on the grill nice and quick and not have to really put a lot of thought and work into it because I was just exhausted and so hot and sweaty at this point that I was just over it. I wanted to get dinner done and move on with my night. So I am doing some grilled chicken and I'm using some potatoes that we actually grew in the garden. So whenever I was doing the totals for this meal did end up, I have it written down, let me see. It ended up coming to $9.87, so just about $10. And I did include the price of the potatoes at the store for you just because I know that not everybody is growing potatoes. But I was super excited to grow potatoes because this is the first time I've ever done it. And so some of them, whenever, I think I was a little too eager and I probably should have let them grow a little longer, but I was so excited. And actually so was everybody else. My daughter went out, my husband went out, the boys, they were swimming in the pool and they're like, let me know if there's any, let me see. So it was like a whole family ordeal growing these potatoes and they all helped me plant them too. So maybe that's why, but anyway, I think I was a little too eager and we pulled them out of the garden, I think a little too soon because some were a wonderful size, but then some were also really tiny, like the tiniest potatoes I've ever seen. However, we still were able to use them and this is how I use them. So we didn't end up using all of them. We had just a couple left and I chopped them up, even the little small ones. I thought it would be good to have them, just kind of sauteed, and I just seasoned them, put them in there with a little bit of bacon grease and butter and let them go low and slow on the stove until they were done. In the meantime, I am going to season the chicken, and I do chicken basically the same way every time now because it is just so good. So I have chicken legs, I'm salting and peppering them, and then I'm adding this cowboy butter. If you have not tried this, I highly recommend because this is my new favorite. It is just so good. So I'm putting quite a bit on it and then we'll throw them on the grill and then let them cook. Like I said, this was a super simple meal, but these legs at Walmart, they are just under $5. It is $2 for the vegetable. We serve that bread again, and the potatoes can be super cheap too. Something that is less than $10 to throw together and delicious. We also had so much left over for the next day. So this is what everybody ate. And then I was really just craving, like I said, I was like outside working and I just really wanted a salad, something cold and not hot, and just something to kind of cool me off. So I made a very large salad, and that was our dinner this night. But this is all I have for you today. I hope this gave you some ideas for some super cheap family dinners. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.